Wealth Wednesday, and we'll get to the financial part next hour. But we'll begin with a wealth of knowledge that we hope you will find very helpful. First, a discussion about how to protect yourself from online lies. Stephen Wyer was a victim and shares all with his book, Violated Online. Then it's a look back at 1967, when two black college football teams helped redefine sports in America and also civil rights. Samuel Friedman tells it all with his book, Breaking the Line. Second hour, financial expert Raul Garuda will share ways to keep money in your pocket, and we'll wrap things up with award-winning children's author Mary Pope Osborne as she talks about her Magic Tree House series and a new initiative with JetBlue Airlines. But our first guest is a man I met just over a year ago. Stephen Wyer was a successful businessman who had his reputation and business ruined by online lies. His book, Violated Online, How Online Slander Can Destroy Your Life and What You Must Do to Protect Yourself, is a wake-up call to many. This interview is on tape, so no phone calls, but listen to the advice. I guess you know from whence you speak.
I do. I have the distinction of being my own first client. And prior to a book or prior to a business, I was a businessman. Got involved in litigation. The litigation made its way to the internet years before the court started ruling in our favor. And that ultimately was the demise of our business.
When did you realize that it had gotten out of control?
I was totally unaware of what people would find when they searched my name. It was actually brought to my attention by an administrative assistant of a potential client who let me know that they had seen my search results and that there wouldn't be a business opportunity. And it's the first time it ever even occurred to me. And that goes back a number of years.
So she came to you and she said, we can't do business with you because...
We've seen what's online about you. And what was online at that point were all of the allegations that had been filed with the court. It used to be that you were innocent until proven guilty. And you've heard this over and over. But in the court of public opinion, as it relates to the internet, that's no longer the case. And in my situation, it happened to be legal documents. But for millions of people, it is not only legal documents, it's slander, it's blogs, it's forums, it's comments, all casting aspersions in a very negative way with very little foundational truth.
The bully pulpit has really taken over in so many areas, and we hear about it among kids and students, but it really can hurt someone with a business or someone who may be out there trying to be the honest person who may be the same name as somebody else also.
You've got that situation. I'll tell you what else we see a lot of, particularly with small business, is most of the online attacks come either from former employees or from competitors. And because the attacks can be done anonymously, there's no way to really trace them back. So inference and aspersion and doubt and comment can be cast by Mickey Mouse. And people will see Mickey Mouse as the poster, set that aside, and take the allegation, the comment, the slander, and take it to heart. And so online slander is an equal opportunity platform when it comes to the internet. It happens to students. We've seen students lose college scholarships because of students that are competing for the same scholarship, slandering the other student. We've seen seniors right here in Washington, D.C. A retiree got into a dispute with a neighbor owning a condominium. That neighbor filed or began posting derogatory comments about the condo association under that person's name. And the association actually asked them to leave. She didn't even have a computer in her home. But again, it was done anonymously.
What can people do to protect themselves? Because that's really what your book is about. Now, a lot of new laws are now working in favor of the person who is being slandered. But it's a slow process.
It's a very slow process. The body of law that governs all of this is very narrow and very fresh. And one of the challenges from a legal perspective is that there's no clear-cut course in terms of do you file in state court, do you file in federal court? Many times the sites that are most damaging host their servers outside the United States. And so you end up in a jurisdiction dialogue. You lay on top of that the address of the computer, the IP address, is very difficult, if not impossible, to identify. And so the courts have got their hands full right now. There are illustrations of people that have prevailed where a federal court has demanded that Google turn over an IP address, but there's less than a dozen instances of that and millions of cases of slander. So legal recourse most of the time is not the place you want to begin, even if you go through the legal process. Jury trial, full depositions, the probability is you'll lose at the end of the day because everyone stands on free speech. It's the Bill of Rights, and it cuts both ways. So if the courts are not the primary conduit for a solution, then it's really incumbent on you and I in terms of how our information is presented on the Internet. And there are a number of things you can do.
Start listing, because you list a lot. And it's, like you said, we were talking earlier, you do at the end of each chapter, you let people know what can be done to help solve the problems that were presented in the previous chapter.
Yeah. The book is really nothing more than stories of clients that we've helped, and obviously we've changed identities and geographical locations, but their stories ring true with everyone. And there are a number of things that you can do, and there are three fundamental things that you have to begin with. And the first is you have to know what's online about you. Going back to my first revelation, I was totally unaware of what was online. When you look and when you search your name, you'll want to look for your common name, the name you're known by. You'll also want to look for your legal name, because court documents, as an example, would be documents that would show up under your legal name. So you've got to look and see what's there. Don't be afraid to read it. Understand where it's coming from. The second thing you need to do is you need to own your own real estate. And what I mean by that very simply is you need to own your name. So I'll put a plug in for GoDaddy or Network Solutions, but you go to one of those sites and you type your name in and see if you can buy your .com, .net, .org, .biz, .co. There's 5 or 6 of them for North America that you'll want to buy. You own your real estate, because if you don't own those names, then somebody else owns your identity, and you have no control over it. The same is true for the main social sites. So everybody knows Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. You need to try and own your identity on those sites, even if you choose not to put up a Facebook page or you choose not to tweet. Owning the accounts simply means that no one else can own them, because identity theft on the Internet is called cyber squatting. All it means is I'm going to take your identity and I'm going to sit on it. If I live outside of North America, I may contact you and offer to sell you your identity. There's no reason to go through all of that if you'll just take a minute and see if you can own your name. And the third thing is you have to view the Internet as there is a private you and a public you. And this is a different way of thinking. People that live their lives transparently are not bent toward anything other than honesty, and I'm not speaking of honesty. I'm thinking about the ability to be deliberate in identifying who you are online.
And you also have to manage what you put out onto the Internet, too, because now we hear about students who are losing scholarships because of something they did stupid in high school that's all over the Internet with pictures, identifying themselves and their friends as doing whatever it is that it may be. And you really have to watch that.
Camera phones are great fun when you're at the party. They're brutal the next day, and lots of pictures. And friends will post pictures up and do what's called tagging, put your name on there, and so you've been tagged in a photo. You've been put up on their Facebook site, their social site. So it's not even on your site, but you've been tagged, and people will find you that way. And that's true for students. It's true for adults. There are some pretty high-profile cases. Last year, an insurance claim was turned down for a disability claim because the person on disability ended up having pictures posted of them on a Facebook page where he was at the beach with a beverage in hand, and he was supposedly disabled at home. And the insurance company actually disallowed the claim because of the Facebook posting. So that gives you pause. And you have to view social media as though when you put something on, it's open to the world to see. So if you use that as your filter, then you can be very deliberate in terms of what you put out.
We're talking with Stephen Wyer. He has written the book, a very good one, Violated Online, How Online Slander Can Destroy Your Life and What You Must Do to Protect Yourself. I like what you say up at the top. If you think you are safe, think again.
Mm-hmm.
Because the internet, like you said, can be seen all over the world, and people really use it as a way to do business and to communicate.
Yeah. Well, 5 years ago it was optional. Now it's not optional. If you're going out for a job interview, if you're applying even at a middle school or a high school level for private education, if you're joining a club, any type of association, professional association, any membership organization is going to do a cursory review of who you are online as you go through that application process. People get lulled into believing they're safe because they're participating in the privacy of their own home. It's quiet, it's dark, I'm just on my phone, I'm just sitting here on my sofa with my notebook, chatting with a friend, and they forget that that information is available to virtually anyone. And if you go to sleep in that area of your life, it can come back and damage you.
Protecting records. People do a lot of bill paying online.
Mm-hmm.
When I heard last year that you could actually pay your taxes through your cell phone, I go, I don't think I'll be doing that. And it's amazing. Again, you just mentioned the word lulled into thinking that everything is safe.
Yeah. Well, if you think about the amount of private information that people are willing to place online now, I'm old enough that I remember when credit card applications were paper. And I remember being so diligent, filling it out, my first one, fill it out with pencil.
I'm old enough to remember when Diners Club was the only credit card that there was.
And you would fill out those applications in pencil to make sure you got everything right, and you go back and now, because people have created such an enticing user experience, and always remember that's what's happening. You're engaging a user experience. It's made to feel simple and safe, but what's behind it is very complex. So when you begin putting credit card information on there, Social Security information, those types of pieces, it's well documented that even the largest hosting companies like Google, have been hacked, and hundreds of thousands of email accounts have been compromised. All of that information's out there. It's not going away, and its legacy. You go out in public records, and it's amazing now to me that I can find, on my own name, I can find homes that I lived in 2 decades ago. And 2 decades ago, the internet didn't exist. But what's happening is the file cabinets of America are being emptied out onto the internet. City, county, state, federal courthouses, federal court records, everything that you used to have to go to the courthouse, go into the file room, and dig it out. Now with about 3 clicks of a mouse, you've got the same information. People may charge you $10 for it, but you've got access to everything.
Share some of the stories, because some of your stories are mind-boggling. and I'll let you choose a couple that you really feel you need to tell for people to learn from.
Yeah, I say in the beginning of the book that all the stories are true because you can't make this stuff up. every day, every call that we take and every conversation I have, there's a twist. Anyone that's high profile is a target. And in the very beginning of the book, I speak of a man, a doctor, that was at the top of his profession, senior partner in a large specialty firm, and while at a hospital was accused of sexual impropriety by a nurse. The police were called. He was handcuffed, and he did the perp walk out the front of the hospital. Local news, local radio, local television. A jury trial so completely exonerated him that his record was actually expunged, because it turned out that that his accuser had done the exact same thing 7 years ago in another state. And so he was completely exonerated. The problem is that the first 2 pages of his search results were the television, newspaper, and then, of course, the bloggers jumped right on top of that. And so that information lives as legacy information, and he contacted me some 5 years after it had occurred. And even though 35 years as a medical professional, he was forced to actually change careers. He changed vocations because he couldn't overcome the information that was online. Now, we were able to help him, and we were able to influence the content and basically put information out there that was real and honest and true about who he was now. And so today, he lives with search results that look very, very different. But absent some assistance, that information would have been there for 20 years. I have many calls that come to our office, and one of the first comments is, I don't care what it says, it's not hurting me, but I want to address it for my kids. I want to address it for my grandkids. I don't want my children to be embarrassed. And that comes through simple things. There's one website that has over 4 million mugshots on it. Now, those mugshots are largely DUI shots. And if people are exonerated, if the accusations are not true and they're found innocent, the mugshot is still on record. So imagine the embarrassment of that. I think of in your field, I think of a newspaper reporter in Dallas, Texas. She and her husband were out to dinner, very, very nice restaurant, and a fight broke out in the restaurant. They weren't even involved in it. But because of his position in a public corporation, the pictures that were taken had him in the picture. They put his name in the caption. And the end result for his search results is it looked like he was involved in an altercation in a restaurant. The internet cuts both ways. It's a wonderful tool. And, I think of sibling rivalries, estates that should be settled in private, and the information makes its way to the internet. Our 3 strong markets, the people we help the most are medical, legal, and investment bankers. And of course, you think about what happened in 2008 and 2009 with the meltdown and everyone that had an investment. There were very few investment bankers that were praised for their insight and wisdom at that point. And so everybody took to the internet and everybody attacked them, and it materially impacts their income going forward. Not for 6 months. I'll tell people when they talk to me all the time, if you don't address it, this information will be there 20 years from now. So you really can't afford to ignore it. You have to be engaged. You have to become your own best PR person. Again, I go back to the public you and the private you. When I talk about the public you, and you go out on a site like Facebook, or I just use Facebook because everybody knows it.
Everybody knows.
Any site, and they ask for an address. Really pause before you put your residential address on that site. Consider putting your office address, a church address, your attorney's address, some other address, then putting your private information on there. My family, we've drawn lines. We don't put pictures of our children online. We don't use their names online. I know who they are, and Grandma and Grandpa know who they are.
And most of your really close friends know exactly who they are, how old they are, where they are.
That's right. So we don't feel compelled to put all of that private information out there about our children. So it's kind of like if you were having a talk with your 13-year-old about setting boundaries when they are moving into life. You need to do a boundary check for yourself and for your family. Because we do what we do, my wife and I are in this business together. Because we do what we do, we have these conversations with our kids. I don't think most families have these conversations. Children take pictures of parents on vacations doing fun things that end up on Facebook, that ends up getting cut and pasted, and by the time you make it back to the office, everybody's seen the picture. And there are, again, lots of high visibility cases now, even within the last year. I think of a high school teacher that went on spring break, and there was a picture taken and posted to a social media site where the teacher was having an adult beverage. It made it, and by the time spring break was over, it had made it back to the administration, and she was actually terminated because they said it was conduct unbecoming of an educator. Now think about this. It's her vacation. It's her personal life, and somehow we've crossed a boundary. Mm-hmm. It's not getting better. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but everything we're talking about, for the most part, think about your own life. These things didn't even exist 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And so at the rate that we're moving, where we're going is we're becoming more exposed, not less exposed. And I haven't even really talked about attack sites, because there are hundreds of websites that are now built, and their business plan and express purpose is to slander people. They stand on the First Amendment. They're considered a bulletin board and protected by the federal government. And in essence, you can say anything about anybody because it's your opinion. I don't like your top. Or, I don't like the quality of your work. Or, I think you're dishonest. And the list goes on. One site's got over 600,000 small businesses have been slandered, and not one single of those complaints has ever been validated. Ever. And we hear from those businesses every day, day in and day out. Reputation Advocate is built specifically to service those people. Those are our clients, the people that have been hurt.
Talk about your business and tell people how they can get in touch with you, because I'm sure somebody out there listening needs you.
You know, I've recently said, I've come to realize that online reputation management, the issues that surround it, are like cancer. If it hasn't happened to you, it's happened to someone you know. It's happened to a friend, a family member, a coworker. I'm continually amazed in the news field as I visit with folks like you.
We have very public careers.
Yeah, and almost without exception, as the conversation ends, I'll have someone in that TV studio, that radio studio, that newspaper interview say, "It happened to me." So no one is above it. Our company, Reputation Advocate, basically we focus on online reputation management, consulting, and defense strategies. We work for small business, we work for public corporations, and we work for professionals. We've worked for hair salons and dog breeders, and we've worked for public corporate CEOs of public corporations. As I said before, this type of slander cuts right across every boundary. And so on a day-in, day-out basis, those are the folks that contact us. And we're a small company. We don't take on hundreds of clients at any given point. The other thing that I always try and let people know early on is there's no cookie-cutter solution. If there was a silver bullet, I'd be the Lone Ranger. There's no silver bullet. And so you really have to look at the type of slander, where it's coming from, how the search engines are viewing it, why they're viewing it that way, and then come up with a plan that will adjust the way the search engines view it so that it's not so top of mind, top of page. And that's what we do. We've got writers and programmers, and we've been doing this since, the business was incorporated in 2006, and we've been doing this actively for about 3 years now.
3 years, and again, give us a website. Give us information how we contact you.
we try and keep it simple.
Okay.
So the book is Violated Online, and if you go to violatedonline.com, you'll find information on the book. The name of the company is Reputation Advocate, and you go to reputationadvocate.com, and our contact information is there. Our toll-free number is 888-229-0746.
Anything else you'd like to add for those people out there who really need to be shaken just a little bit more?
Talk to your kids. Your kids know more about social media than you do. Listen to them. The Pew Charitable Trust just released survey information this week talking about the high percentage of young people that are very aware of their privacy settings, and that the stark contrast between what the children are doing on their social media sites and what their parents are doing. So it's one of those situations, I just got a new iPhone and I handed it to my 12-year-old and she taught me how to use it. Listen to your kids as it relates to Facebook and Twitter and those types of things, and you'll be better off for it.
Well, there you have it, and many thanks to Stephen Wyer. His book again is Violated Online, How Online Slander Can Destroy Your Life and What You Must Do to Protect Yourself. The website is reputationadvocate.com. Once again, that's reputationadvocate.com. Go check yourself out online. I was amazed at how much stuff there was there. Transforming Sports with Civil Rights is what's coming up. Stay tuned.
You're listening to the Maggie Linton Show on Sirius XM Urban View. We'll be right back.